Hello again, everyone. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about interface. So let's get to it. So normally, as you know, interface does not exist in JavaScript. So creating a type-safe structure is inherently difficult. We can say that the interfaces in TypeScript are basically developed to eliminate this difficulty, and we really wouldn't be too far wrong. We could also say that the interface in TypeScript is basically a type definition. So while classes and functions describe the behavior of objects, we can think of interfaces as defining object types. Now, if you've worked with languages such as Java and C# before, you're already familiar with this topic. But here we've already mentioned that we can collect similar features in one class and then can extend them to other classes when necessary. Actually, the interface works similarly. We could say that there are some differences, and if you want to make it clearer with a simple example, yes, let's. We use the interface keyword to make a definition and then write the name. So I'll also define variables as strings, username, password, and email. So now here I'm writing a simple method that is using this interface and writing console. And the person has been registered. So when I call this method, look here. We see the parameters at once. So I need to send all parameters in this interface. And yeah, so we've added all parameters. And as you can see, when I add all the parameters, the error display is gone. So now I'm changing this variable to optional. So that means I'll put a question mark in here. So when I delete this parameter, there's no problem. So now look, when I change this string value to a number, we get an error again because the program warns me that there's no variable of type number here. We already know this, but I wanted you to see it again. So now let's define a class. So I want to make the difference a little more clear, and you'll see why. So I'll prepare a class and define variables. And then after making these definitions, I'll create an object. And look at this. So I'm only using the name variable for this object, and I'm not going to give any value to the other variables. So now I'm writing a method for the class, just like in here. And when I call this method, I don't get any errors. Why is that? Well, I've only defined one variable here, but it's okay for class. Because while interfaces want to use all the variables defined, that is just not the case for classes. So you see where we're going with this. If we are to define all variables, we got to use interface. But if you're not in that situation, we can say that we can use and define class. So you remember earlier when we were extending the class? Well, likewise, we can implement interfaces. Just use the same logic. All right, my friends? So we're going to talk about generics in our next lesson. Hope to see you there. All right.